Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from YourBlackWorld.com, and today I'm actually trying an experiment. I decided that I had something to say, and you know me, when I have something to say, I usually say it. And I'm actually behind the wheel as I say this, and so if you're wondering why I'm looking away when I talk, it's because I have to look away because I'm driving. But I wanted to kind of clarify something that I wrote recently about the upcoming election. People think that I am in agreement with the W.E.B. Du Bois position, in which he just said, that black people shouldn't vote until the Democratic and Republican parties present them with viable options. I'm not one to fault those who feel that way, but that's not exactly how I feel, although I think Du Bois's position should be considered, because sometimes by abstaining as a collective, you are making a clear point that you need good options in order for you to show up and vote. You're not just going to vote for the best option available. And I think a relationship analogy for that is perfect, in that sometimes if a woman has to choose between a man who beats her or a man who ignores her, she may say, you know what, I'm not going to date either one of these guys until one of you steps up and behaves properly and treats me with respect. So it's okay to be single in that scenario. And I think in voting, you see in Congress all the time where groups of congressmen will say we're going to abstain because we don't feel that either option is really acceptable here. But anyway, with that said, I want to talk about my position on the election and what led me to kind of say what I said. I'm getting a little bit tired and perturbed with all of these sort of guilt trips that people put on us when it comes to voting. The Democratic Party, they haven't shown up for anything black people have needed for the last 4 years. We've talked to them about urban violence. They haven't said hardly a peep. I think recently, in the last 3 seconds of the fourth quarter, President Obama mentioned Chicago in a debate, and everybody says, "Oh, Lordy B." He finally said something about Chicago violence. But when he came to Chicago for Valerie Jarrett's wedding, he came in and left and went to Colorado to console the victims of that shooting, but said nothing about the kids being shot right there on his own block. I wasn't satisfied with that. On mass incarceration, we've asked the White House and the Democrats to at least talk about this issue, because mass incarceration is destroying black families everywhere. Anybody who really wants to understand it needs to either have a relative who's gone to prison or go visit a family that has been destroyed because the father has been away on a 25-30-year prison sentence for drug distribution from the 1980s. In many cases, those families are torn apart because the patriarch is gone. And this is happening all over the country. It's not a matter of, these are a bunch of people who made dumb decisions. Sure, dealing drugs is not a smart thing to do, but you don't deserve to get a 100-year sentence for dealing drugs or an 80-year sentence. Maybe you deserve 5 years, 10 years, or something like that, but not 100 years. But that's the kind of sentencing that black men were subjected to, and it was primarily black men that got these sentences. They didn't give these sentences to white people. In the United States, it's not a matter of being a bad person that sends you to prison. It's really a matter of the fact that there is an entire industry built on mass incarceration. There are people that literally make, or corporations that make billions of dollars from incarcerating people, so they want you to go to prison. So the United States is the easiest place in the world to go to prison, so it's not a matter of people just behaving properly and making the problem go away. That's not it. So long story short, we've talked about mass incarceration. We've asked about urban violence. We've talked about black unemployment. White people are complaining diligently about 7.9% unemployment. Do you know how happy black people would be to get 7.9% unemployment? We're sitting on 14.3% unemployment, and nobody has said a damn thing. That is an insult. That is pathetic. So here's my point. My point to the Democrats is this. If you want black people to come out and vote, and you're suddenly showing up saying, we're going to fight for you because we're going to fight to protect your right to vote. Well, you know what? That's a little bit insulting, because you weren't fighting for us on the issues that were going to help us. You'll fight for us when it comes to getting us out to the polls so that we can keep your ass in power. Excuse my French. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop cussing here. But, you'll fight for us to keep you in power. But you won't fight for us when it comes to keeping us empowered or helping us to have opportunities to have a better life, or to get the same opportunities to receive support from the government that white folks are asking for. So my point is this. I'm not one to sit here and say to black folks, look, stay home from the polls. I'm not telling them to do that. The Democrats are telling black people to stay home from the polls when they are choosing to deliberately ignore the interests of the black community, when they are choosing to deliberately ignore black people when they come and ask them to help them. And they're telling African Americans to stay home from the polls. So don't pull up an image of Dr. King or Selma, Alabama, or somebody who died for the right to vote to get me to come out there and vote. Show me democratic action that will convince black people that voting is going to improve their lives. You know, it's just like marriage. You can't, if a woman says, you know what, I'm divorcing my husband, I'm not cooking for this fool, I'm not going to stay married to this fool because he's not a good husband. You can look at her and say, well, you know, a wifely duty is for you to stand by your man. If you are a good wife, you will stand by your man and support him no matter what. No, but she's going to look at you and say, well, if he were a good husband, that would give me an incentive to be a good wife. So if the Democrats want African Americans to be good citizens, you must give them incentives to come out and vote for you. If you cannot give them incentives, then don't get mad when they stay home from the polls, because they're simply doing what you did. They are looking out for number one. And if that's going to be the name of the game, then everybody needs to play that same game, not just half of the field. So that's all I want to say. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm about to talk to Reverend Jesse Jackson in a couple of minutes, and he'd probably be mad at me knowing that I was trying to talk while I was driving. But believe me, I've been safe while I was doing this. So I'm gone, and God bless, and please have a wonderful day. Bye.